Joining us from Miami is Remi Piet. He's a senior partner at consulting firm Embellie Advisory. Remi, thanks for joining us again. First, how seriously do you think the generals, the military officials, are taking this letter?
Well, that letter was written by, as you mentioned, military generals that are backing traditionally Keiko Fujimori. So it's not a surprise that it will actually be made public, or that this position was the one that they stated. The situation here is that you have to see it in a larger context of an election that was, very popular, with more than 70% of people turning out to vote, with a razor-thin results between Pedro Castillo, leftist, and Keiko Fujimori, which has a long track on the right wing and sometimes, some might say authoritarian part of Peruvian politics, and we still don't know the results. It's just like maybe a quarter of a percent, 0.25%, according to the latest results. It hasn't been called. So we're seeing a rise of tensions in Lima, a rise of tensions, moderate in the regions of Apurímac, of Arequipa, also just really paying attention to what will happen in the next few days in Peru, because Pedro Castillo, by all accounts, seems to have won. There is some allegations from Fujimori of some ballots being not signed by the proper authorities in different regions, but it'd be very important to look at what that means politically and economically for Peru over the next few weeks and months.
Castillo currently leads by something like 44,000 votes. Keiko Fujimori is trying to table around 250,000 votes, so that would be significant if she's successful. But if Castillo is declared the winner, does this mark the end of Fujimorismo?
Well, it will be the third time that Keiko Fujimori loses to the election, and she actually lost by a similar margin last time to PPK, Kuczynski, the former president. Here, in that case, you're seeing a very divided country in terms of policies. The positions from Pedro Castillo have somewhat changed over the last few weeks with the inclusion of Pedro Franque in his economics team. So a lot of the claims of potential nationalization of companies or sectors are not on the table anymore, but definitely will be a defeat for Fujimorismo, that hardline right wing, and the past that it comes with in terms of her father being in prison and her also having served time in prison for potential allegations of corruption, shows that she's not the future for Peru. And clearly there's a need for other voices to be heard in Peru, and an administration from Pedro Castillo actually might bring a series of reforms if they are moderated. Especially they will be moderated by Congress, because it doesn't have a majority in Congress, so it will actually provide a potential stability Congress on the Congress at that situation, to actually allow for a more reformed views of the leftist candidate Pedro Castillo, if he is indeed elected.
Peru is clearly a country divided. How does it heal?
Well, the key question here is to see the inclusion of different actors from civil society, academia, and also the corporate sector, in terms of trying to find a common platform here between a different, very divided Peru. When we look at different regions, I mentioned Apurímac, Moquegua, Cajamarca, also, where Pedro Castillo won by overall margins of 90% in some, especially mining districts. It shows that there needs to be better dialogue also at the local level, at the regional level, between foreign investors in the mining sector or in other sectors, because it is in the best interest in Peru as a whole. In terms of the political stability of the country, again, I said that whoever wins that election at the presidential level will not have a majority in Congress. So the claims that Peru would be drifting towards a Venezuela-like model is probably wrong, and much more like maybe a Brazil led by Lula at his time, or even when leftist leaders such as Humala were in power in Peru, there was still a fairly pro-market economies, and looking at the capacity to this time include all sectors of society to be part of the development of Peru. And this is the roots of the actual divide of the country between, let's say, an elite in the cities of Lima, which are very right-wing, and the majority of the country in rural areas that actually are following either the line of Pedro Castillo, Victoria Mendoza, also, I mentioned, also the series of different parties that are there, that actually are providing another platform that is followed by those communities outside of the large cities.
Remi Piet, thank you for your insight, as always.